Hello, and welcome back to the Tabletop Republic World Building Project. I'm Ryan, and I'll be your guide through this madness. So let's begin. In the last video, I explained about the plan to build a city as a collaborative effort, and I asked you to submit some emails to help us choose a location. Your emails came in, and we did indeed make a choice as a group. And I also asked you to submit 2 names for founding families, but we had many more than I needed, so we're going to use some today and keep some back for later. For now, let's go to the drawing board.
I'm going to use a mix of practical and digital effects for the project, as you'll see, but I always prefer to start with pencil and paper. I start with a coastline and a river. This helps frame the location and anchors the town. Before sketching in some rough topography, this gives us a valley between 2 hills and describes some natural limits to our town.
From there, roads come next, and then I start to roughly place some buildings to get a feel for how it's going to look when the villagers move in.
A forested area between the hill and ocean in the south kills some dead space. And then back to blocking in more buildings.
As it gets busier, more structures go in. Another road makes sense, allowing for expansion.
Some markers on the buildings help define their purpose.
A few final details, and we're done with our first pass. So we scan that in, we increase that contrast, and then we're off to the computer.
I increased the size of the canvas to give us more to play with and then inked in the waterline. And a comparison with the original sketch shows us where our hills and forests live. Then we add the ocean floor, before we colour in the ground and add some transparent water for the illusion of depth. Sandy beaches and muddy rivers soften the edges a little. And then we shade in those hills and give the lay of the land some depth.
Another comparison with the original sketch shows us where the roads belong. And once we've got those in, we print that out again and we go back to the pencil work. With a better grasp of the map now, I've placed the buildings along the road networks slightly more neatly. I'm trying to allow for natural growth from that central plaza. I take more care, this makes more sense this way while not labouring too much on the fine detail yet. Interesting point here. You see I started drawing those fields vertically, then I realised my mistake. They should be parallel to the ground rather than straight up and down. This just stops it when it's heavily raining, washing the entire field away. Yeah, so I fixed that. It's a small detail, sure, but that's the point of this, right?
With that done, I put some ink down to increase that contrast, and we're done with the second pass, back to the scanner.
Using this again as a transparent sketch, I plot those lines in digitally. And now this is where most of your time is spent, on the roof detail, then the colouring and shading.
Add in the forest and a bit more depth to the walls. Before recolouring everything, giving it that overcast, windswept feel we were looking for, adding a border lends some tangibility, and then we overlay a grid and we're done. Here's our town, step 1 complete.
So, what's next? Well, I picked some of the names that you sent in, and now we need to place these people in our town. There are 10 families on the screen here and 10 main buildings to start with. This is where our collaboration starts to pick up, so let's get to it. I'm going to mark these buildings with a yellow circle as we go so you can follow along on screen. There's a tavern in the north and another in the centre of town. That ominous noble manor is going to need an owner. And there's a working farm in the north. The town administration is going to need a mayor or some sort of landlord. And the Mages Guild wanted a rural chapter house on the main road there. Our cleric has set up a shrine for newcomers. And a store, general supplies and working goods for sale. A blacksmith on the main square selling his wares. And finally a fishing family working out of the beach. All of these buildings are going to need a family, and that's where you come in.
I'd also like you to tell me which deity our local cleric worships and what domain or purview that god has. It's entirely up to you. The most interesting suggestion wins. There will be more gods coming later, of course, and remember, we're going to be writing plot for these people, so let's get some curiosity baked in early.
So, I'm going to ask for another email. I'd like you to map our locals into our town. 10 lines, pick a family, a location, and a word that suggests their motives or drives. Want the Dungrave family to be blacksmiths driven by a desire to be the best, and then simply put 8, 9, perfection as an example. Do that for all 10 families, please, and then name our god and its area of influence. Beyond that, any suggestions you have or any advice or any additions you'd like to make, feel free. My email is ryan.palehearth@gmail.com. So that's it. Until next time, have a great day.